because I'm gonna let you guys fall into a false hope of thinking that I've done this before. Okay, so what we're gonna talk about is a Minecraft server I used to play. Now, for the sake of things, I'm not gonna reveal the names of any of these guys. I'm just gonna name one of them Tomato. You probably already know who I'm talking about just by who I'm calling them. But anyways, I got a couple names, but yeah. Although there is one particular name I will allow to be said, and that's Dogecast Doggo, because that's me. I mean, why wouldn't I allow that? But I'm gonna be playing on this because I don't have PS Plus and I couldn't be bothered to play Minecraft right now. And so, excuse me if any parts get too loud and you can't hear me. But our topic today, Desmond, would you like to? Oh yeah, the topic is the Minecraft server. Okay, so I was in the PlayStation communities, just looking around. Okay. And I'm in this Minecraft community because back then I was really big into Minecraft for some reason, and I don't know why, but I decided I'm gonna join this random party. So I join it, and it's like some World War II server. So I'm expecting this to not be serious at all, and then turns out it's like the most serious thing you could think to this guy. So I decide, you know what? I'm gonna be Poland just because. You know, no one wants to be Poland in World War II, so I make the worst possible. You're supposed to make your own country in the server. You know, it's gotta be like, it can't be just a house. It's gotta be like an actual sizable land area. But I make it really small to what it should be, because I'm new. I don't know how big it should be, and so because of that, I'm just sitting here and I am doing basically nothing. You know, I'm building like a house. I'm supposed to have a Capitol building. Like, there are all these rules set just for this one server. And also, if any of these guys here are listening, hi, I guess. But so we got this guy. I'm gonna call him Taco. Yes, Taco, because why not? Another guy. Let's call him Goliath. Yeah, okay, so Taco and Goliath are really good friends. Okay, why I chose these names, don't ask. But they know each other in real life and all this. So they basically run the server together. Now, they do occasionally get mad at each other, but they always eventually forgive each other. But, so Goliath is actually helping me out in what I'm doing. But Taco is just telling me, hey, you need to do this and that, you know. He doesn't help me, he doesn't tell me how I need to do it, he just says I need to do it. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, how do I do this? And he's like, you'll figure it out, okay? So this guy, Taco, you know, I have no bad blood with this guy, but he's not exactly my favorite person either, if you catch my drift. So, anyways, I'm going doing my thing, and I start realizing, okay, this server's being taken a little too serious. I'm starting to get a little worried, like, what did I just get myself into? Okay, so it's not like super duper serious, but I mean, it's still pretty serious nevertheless. Now, there's this thing called annexation. In other words, if you go to war with another country, so how you do it is you have to declare a war and all that, but you have to have like a certain amount of things in your place. In other words, you have to have built your entire country up enough to the point where you're able to go to war and possibly lose everything you worked for and restart from scratch as another country. Or you could take over another person's country and take everything they've worked for. Now, this guy named Taco, he kind of makes it really impossible for you to actually do anything to him. First of all, you can't annex him, in other words, take over his country. And he said that if you attempted to, he would, now I don't know if this is a joke, because no one ever attempted to, but he said that he would ban you from the server. Now, I've already invested some time. No one really asked that question, at all. for a minute, or at least not while I was in the parties and stuff. But eventually I got around to asking, hey, what would happen if I were to annex you? And he'd be like, I'd probably ban you. And so, that's the thing. Pinging at 516 right now, which is, I gotta say, not exactly the best. But anyways, getting sidetracked. So, right off the bat, you got this guy who's helping people. He seems nice, all that. I got no problem with this guy. And then you got his friend, Taco, the guy who runs the server. He's sitting there making it basically impossible to actually, do anything to him. And so right off the bat, it's not a very good start. There's another guy. I'm just gonna go run through the people who I think will be important to this story. One of them, let's name him Tony. One of my personal best friends. And then we got Tomato rolls in, but he's way later at the story. We got this guy, what's his name? Butter. We got Butter. Yeah, I'll call him that. Then we got, who else was important at the time? See, I'm going through all these names, but I'm trying to figure out which ones are relevant to the story at the same time. Okay, well, I'll figure out as I go. But anyways, so I make my country, Poland, I make it so I did not take it seriously at all when I made it. It's basically a destroyed city. So right off the bat, I wasn't serious. It was destroyed. I didn't put too much effort into it because I found out that, hey, it can be taken away. So I'm sitting here, okay, well, if I put too much effort into it and I lose it all, then that's not exactly going to be fun times Tijuana for me. But so I make my place and all that. I'm having a jolly good old time messing around. Okay, I'm pinging really high. But anyway, I'm messing around, having a jolly good old time. And then, okay, not gonna hit that guy apparently. But I'm having a jolly good old time, making my stuff, doing my thing. And I'm sitting right next to Germany. So, of course, what I'm gonna do is make a train track going to Auschwitz. Okay? Now, it doesn't actually go into the city, it goes into a spot where it says, it's just a door that leads nowhere. It's Minecraft, I mean, I don't know what you're expecting here. But, as I'm doing this, Quinn, this guy named Quinn, or whatever, he's this David dude's friend too. He's good friend with David, but he makes this one thing. Okay, so before, a little backstory on this guy. He made an Assassin's Creed country first because that was before they put the rule in place that you have to have a real country, and so there's that, right? That's really the only odd thing about the server, or at least how it works. And by odd I mean like bizarre. Nothing's really hugely bizarre. Some things are unfair and all that, and some things are a little odd, but nothing's like weird. So we got this dude with a floating house as his country with a flag on Assassin's Creed. Okay. I don't like Quinn. That's a weird name. Let's call him Ezio. Yeah, Ezio. But anyways, Ezio's over here, doing his thing. And so as he's doing his thing, we got this battle system going on where there are rules cheat, obviously, as anything goes. But one of the ways you can cheat is actually by one of the ways you can cheat is by using enchanted golden apples, otherwise known as notch apples. Now this guy, you can use normal golden apples just fine, no one really cares about that. But when you use enchanted golden apples, it makes you basically invincible if you don't know. And so it's basically impossible to actually kill a person if you don't have them yourself. So they're just completely overpowered. So they're banned. So a lot of things get banned off and on in the server, you know, all that. And I'm doing my thing. I'm Poland, and then I realized, you know what? Actually, I think I might actually enjoy playing this server. So I'm thinking, you know, it probably wouldn't be the best idea to have a tiny country going straight into going straight into Germany or whatever. And I'm right now. I got attacked and immediately got puppeted by Germany. Now, if you don't know what puppeting is, if Germany gets in a war, which they always do, you have no choice at all. You have to fight in the war too. Now, if you don't fight, there are some consequences in play. Now, if you're not online, it's fine, but you can't purposely go offline for the sake of just that. But if you don't say anything about it, you just don't show up online. Just later on, you show up and say, "Oh, I was at some sort of dinner party or something random." Then it's all good. You know? But as I was saying, I'm going on doing my thing. I am already having thoughts in my head about, hey, I kind of don't want to actually be Poland anymore, but these are just thoughts at the time. So I continue going along, and then there's this one country called Nazi Germany. And so Nazi Germany makes Auschwitz. We're messing around. Let's just call this guy Adolf, because he's Nazi Germany. He's not actually racist or anything. He just thought it'd be a fun idea since there was Poland. And so he makes it. He has this. He makes Auschwitz as a joke. I mess around in there. As a joke, I get sent to Auschwitz because technically I'm a Jew because I'm Polish. It's just a fun time. No, it's slightly racist, but you know, nothing serious at all. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, maybe it might not be so bad to be Poland. And I go to war with this guy, with what's his name? Crap. Taco's friend, Goliath, yeah. I go to war with Goliath. Now, he's also got a sizable country, but he's not like, he may be real good friends with Taco, but he doesn't have any, what do you call him? He's not, how do I say, oh yeah, rules apply to him. Rules do apply. He's not immune to any rules at all, so... That being said, I'm thinking, okay, this is actually possible. So I'm making stuff, you know, doing all things. You have to make your own actual armory, inventory, and all that. So there are flags too. There's supposed to be 3 flags in play, but at the time it was only 1. Now this 3 flag rule will become important later on, but at first it was just 1 flag. You built a flag out of oh, I'm lagging. But anyways, you build a flag out of, what is it, wool. Yeah, just colored wool. Now, this isn't all happening in a creative server, so it's no big deal just to grab these things. All it's really taking is your time, and not even much of it. But as I'm, you know, making my flag, as I do, you gotta make it like a certain size. It can't be too high off the ground. There are all these rules in play. And so, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, you know, it makes sense because you have somebody that has theirs like fucking 5 miles high up in the sky. It's gonna be nearly impossible to take any of their flags, which what you gotta do is you gotta destroy them, and that counts as, and you gotta, yeah, you gotta destroy. At the time, there was a rule where you had to replace it with your own. That rule didn't last too long. It lasted for like a total of 3 battles, but it was, one of the 3 battles was the one I was in. But, so, we got this rule where I gotta replace it with my own flag. So you're allowed, you get 3 lives to fight or whatever, and during that, which was also a rule that later got changed, you get 3 lives. And so, excuse me for pausing a bunch and backtracking, but it's just, this was such a long time ago. You get 3 lives to fight, and when you have, when you die 3 times, you immediately lose. But if you replace the other person's flag, you immediately win. So it was very odd, but needless to say, I ended up losing. I don't remember how I lost, but I did lose, and so I got annexed by Goliath, and so I had to make a new country. Now, this is where Tomato steps in. So I gotta make a new country, and so I choose China. So Tomato's new to the server, and of course Tomato, I don't know why, but Tomato chooses Japan, because there's an island in the middle of this ocean that looks exactly like Japan. Now Tomato puts all kinds of work into making this place look like actually like Japan. So he upgraded it even more, made it bigger so he could actually put something on it and all that. And he puts all kinds of work into the architecture of the buildings he's making, and way more detail than I would have ever dreamed of putting into my country. Because I've already been annexed before, I'm thinking, if I get annexed again and I actually put work into it, that's just, I just don't want that to happen. And so as I'm doing this, you know, I'm creating China. I put a small amount of any architecture, you know, I make like a little tiny gazebo and all that. I make a little meeting hall for these in-game meetings and stuff, you know. There are alliances and stuff, when those aren't too important. But so Tomato put a huge amount of work into his country, which later on he eventually left the server for greener pastures. I guess that's how I'll say it. But in doing so, he also he did eventually come back, but it was way later on, and that's kind of not important to the story at all. But then he left again. But so I'm living right across from this dude. By right across, I'm in an ocean, so all you gotta do is build a Minecraft boat and just ride that baby. And it's not like that's a hard feat to accomplish, just grabbing a Minecraft boat and then, or you could just fly because it's creative. But so I'm sitting here across from this dude. We got a little bit of tension going on, seeing as we're right next to each other. But Japan ends up going to war with basically everyone. Not because he wants to, but just because he gets stuck. He conquered a lot of land, but I went on this thing called a land spree, which later became a rule that you couldn't do. Basically, every single little tiny island that I found, I would put a flag on. And it was hilarious, because there was this one island I nicknamed Tiny Island because, well, it was extremely comically tiny. It was 1 block. Now, if you don't know how big a Minecraft block is, it's big enough to add 1 item, basically, in it. But, so, me and China and Japan, we're buddy-buddy, you know. We got tension going on, but it's not anything like, nothing serious. Too serious. You know, we have our fights because we're right next to each other, obviously, but we don't go into any war. Now, there are practice wars and stuff, which we'll get into in a minute, but basically, practice war, it's just a war, but it's for fun. No one loses anything. You can't settle any debates or anything like it. It's just for practice. So I'm going on a slaying spree, and so other people are seeing me do it, and they're thinking, hey, that's not a bad idea. And so Japan does it too. Now, Japan conquers some land, but not nearly as many islands as I did. But he also decides, I'm gonna conquer the end, which nobody even thought of as a concept at the time, and I gotta give him props for that, because that is a beautiful idea. But it wasn't allowed because you'd have to teleport there, and you get teleported in a very specific spot. And so it'd be a little unfair because you could set up something and all these things. But due to this, Japan gets a little mad, but understandably so. He thought of an idea that no one had thought of before, and I mean, if I were in his shoes, I'd be mad too. But Japan's getting a large amount of land, and Taco is getting this huge city while this is all happening. Goliath is also making a city too. So Goliath is America at the time, but Goliath goes between a lot of countries, so we'll just stick with America for now until, I need to change it to something important. But, so, Goliath and Taco are doing their own thing with Butter and them, just the other guys, and the only two people who are really important to this as of now are another guy. Let's call him, you know what, since Black Ops 4 is new, let's call him Spectre, but I don't know, that might be mad. No, I'm gonna stick with Spectre. But anyways, so he's Egypt. So he's not too terribly far, but not too terribly close. But he's coming up with all these. Oh, I just flashbanged my ally. But he's coming up with all these. He's coming up with all these ways, all these things to do, to play the game. He's basically finding a lot of loopholes. Now, loopholes aren't necessarily bad, but they're not the best thing either. People tend to get angry at you when you use loopholes, but you can't really get in trouble for using them. Now, so he's looking for loopholes, all these things. He's making horizontal flags, which honestly gave him barely any advantage. He hid the flags underneath ground, which at the time wasn't heard of, but that ended up, as soon as that was found out, that immediately was shut down. All these things are going on. So I got all this land in random places, like so far away, and these tiny islands from my actual mainland that there's no point in even having it. It's just land to have land, just claiming it so other people can't. So there's a strategy involved. If you claim a bunch, this was my strategy originally. Claim a bunch of little islands, that way they couldn't, set up a little tiny, at the time, there was this rule where any land you owned at all, just any land you owned, you could, start off a war on. Now this later was changed to any city, which to have a city you have to have 10 houses, a capitol building, all this sort of stuff, and 3 flags and whatnot. But so I'm sitting here collecting a bunch of little islands, that way they can't just start off right next to my mainland and my capital and just take everything super easy. And so I have an actual strategy going on, but these guys think I'm just claiming land to claim land. Now, to be honest, I was kinda doing that, but to an extent. Okay, so I was grabbing lands in random places so I could start off there, but I was also getting land in places for future cities that did not exist yet. But I was figuring, hey, that looks like a good spot to put a city. I'm gonna place this here, so if somebody decides to put one there, I'm just gonna go ahead and start off there. Okay, now this really doesn't come into any big play. So their land sprees became banned. So they were called land sprees because you went on a spree just doing nothing but claiming land. And so, because of the land sprees, nobody who joined the server, any new people, could actually really grab any new land. They had to look for places that were already unclaimed or anything. Nothing built on it. Now, I got this big armory and stuff. I'm preparing for any big wars. There are like ships involved, but they don't really do anything except for decoration. But they were like a big deal because they were like actual big ships, and if you had them, you were considered really prestigious and rich. So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm gonna make a bunch of really tiny boats, and I got this one island right next to Germany and another country, Britain, but Britain doesn't play any role at all. So I'm thinking, I'm gonna go ahead and just do that. And so I decided, yeah, I'm gonna do that, and I did that. I got this one little spot. It was actually big enough to build a little tiny house on. I added in a little boat dock, and now this island was nicknamed Doomsday Island. The real name I don't remember, but it was called Doomsday Island because I had this one bow, considered the Doomsday device. Now, fire spreads was turned on because, well, it was considered a technique where if you were in a war, you could just go ahead and set the flag on fire. Now, this is a good and bad thing in its own regards. One, if you have it like that, you got a whole new way to play, whole new technique, a whole new branch of ways to play. And I'm repeating the same thing over and over again, but it's very important that this exists. But then you got this Doomsday device, and everything, a lot of things, I can't say everything, but a lot of things in this server are burnable. Wood, all these things, trees. And so what I did was I made this boat that shot fire charges everywhere. So if you don't know what fire charges do, whenever they land on something, they catch it on fire. Now, if it's something like stone, it'll sit there for like 2 seconds. It doesn't really do much, but it does exist, and so I'm using that to my advantage. I make this Doomsday device, set the entire server on fire. It's not a big deal because, Germany has a big giant wall around theirs, and, everything, there's no cities around, so all it's really doing is catching a forest on fire, and no one really cares about this forest. This isn't like some sort of conservation thing going on. But so I'm sitting here building this, and so I'm sitting here doing my thing, building this, and nobody realizes what this ship is. They think it's decoration. They see it, they're like, oh, cool. And until I start hinting at, just to mess with them, I would hint at the importance of the ship. I was like, I hope this guy doesn't take the ship. So this plays into role later, but I'm just setting it up for now. Okay, so Japan is over here. They're messing. He's getting into wars left and right. He gets disliked by some people, but other people start liking him because of it. And so you got this weird sort of thing going on. Everything's pretty much a hierarchy system, except for the leader is always going to be the server owner no matter what. That's just how it goes. But it's a hierarchy system. So Japan's it's getting a respectable position, but not a really good position. And so because of this, he starts getting noticed by Taco and Goliath. Now, Taco and Goliath decide to have this great and hilarious idea to build a giant bomber over over one of the islands, which was Hiroshima. It was either that or Nagasaki. There was a little joke where he had 2 cities, which it was just a crater that was on fire. If you don't know World War II, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, just Google it real quick. I'm sure you'll figure it out. But anyways, so this is going on, and so they decided it'd be really hilarious if we were to build a big, massive plane above it that dropped TNT, because, dropping a bomb. Now, they're planning for this to only blow up Hiroshima and Nagasaki, or at least that's what they claim, but in actuality it ended up doing a lot more damage than they originally intended. So they end up destroying quite a bit of area. And, you know, it reasonably, Japan gets mad, because why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't Japan get mad? They just destroy a little bit. And so because of this, Goliath and Taco start messing around with Japan. And Japan gets a little mad. This leads into some things. They got a huge argument, and Japan just decides, well, it's better that I just leave and not have to deal with this. I leave the server entirely, because he's a lot of what he's worked for has been destroyed, and he might as well have been annexed. And he bombed them back beforehand, and he ended up getting banned, but he was planning on leaving anyways, so I mean, it kind of worked out in his favor. But he did eventually come back. So, okay, so he was gonna get banned, but he didn't. He just left on his own. But either way, he still left the server for a decent amount of time. Now, whenever someone leaves, it's not like a decent amount of time isn't considered like a week or two. It's considered months. Now, if somebody leaves, says they're now going to be gone, if they're announcing it for one day, everybody's just like, why do you feel the need to announce this? And so, if you're announcing that you're going to be gone, usually it's for a long period of time. Now, I have no idea that that anything's going on with Japan. I think Japan just got bombed. He bombed them back, you know, something like that. But it turns out Japan left. I had no idea prior to this. So I'm sitting here just like one day, hey, why hasn't Japan been on in a while? And so Goliath is just like, you didn't know he got banned? Well, I'm like, he got banned? He was like, well, no, actually he left, but Poppy still banned him anyways because it makes him feel good about himself. Now, they never actually caught Tomato for bombing because they thought it was someone else, which worked out highly in Tomato's favor. But Taco is mad at whoever it was, and it turns out he has pretty much no reason to be mad at them because it was an accidental frame, but you know, a good one. And so I'm sitting here wondering, okay, well, when's he coming back? And he said he's not getting back on. I'm sitting here like, wait, what? Okay, so what's gonna happen to the land? And so Goliath says that Taco has no plan. So I talked to Taco about it, and he says, I'm probably just gonna destroy it. And I'm sitting here like, oh, you're gonna destroy it? Why not repurpose it at least? You know, I mean, the guy who made that was pretty much poured his heart and soul into that island, making it nice and all that. And he's sitting there like, okay, you know what? You're right. I'm not gonna destroy it, but I'm probably gonna put it into some other country rule or my own, or his own, I should say. But so I'm sitting here like, oh shit, I'm about to have Germany sitting next to me. And it's a big deal if you're living next to Germany. If you're living next to Germany, if you're a small country, Germany just doesn't care. Germany is just like, okay, you do whatever, just don't mess with me, I won't mess with you. But I was China. I was getting I was pretty high up on the hierarchy. Okay, I've been in the server for about, I want to say 5 months at the time, and I was pretty well known. And so I'm about to have this guy sitting next to me, and that makes me a huge target for him. Me and him have our debates. We have our, you know, our little tiny word battles. You know, just insults. Nothing hugely major at all, but you know, enough to get him mad. So eventually, I decide, you know, it'd be funny if I were to prank him. Now, this prank goes wrong, but not terribly long. So he has this one little territory. Well, he has this one puppeted country, and which was Spain at the time. I don't know the name, so I'm gonna call him. Let's see if these guys in here. Teddy. Yeah, let's call him Teddy because that's the one I can think of. But so he's got this guy who's puppeted, and his name is Teddy. And then we got Spectre over there as Egypt. So I'm thinking, wouldn't it be hilarious if if we were to do a joke and completely infiltrate Egypt, because they were getting high up and they were taking down countries left and right. And so we're sitting here thinking, you know what? We should probably end this before it gets too far and heads toward us. And so that's exactly what we do. We set everything up, we get all this going, and then turns out the day we're about to, we got this planned out. Like, we got these launcher things that's gonna launch us around. We're gonna be able to make it like 2 seconds fast for us to actually annex these guys. At the time, it was you had to destroy 3 flags and kill the person 3 times after the 3 flags were destroyed. And so, because of this, there's a little bit of confusion. And you know that doesn't play into any roles in this spot, but I figured I should go ahead and mention that for any future parts I tell. I don't know if that'd be needed, but I feel like saying that would definitely help. So I'm sitting here. We make this whole elaborate plan just to infiltrate Egypt. Now, it wouldn't be so bad if the day after, well, the day that we're supposed to infiltrate him, Egypt or Spectre just decides, you know what? I'm gonna leave the server. And so that's what he does. He leaves the server. And so we're sitting there like, okay, what the fuck? All that work for nothing. And so we got these things set up. We got these in the process I claimed some more land, but because we were playing infiltrate, it was considered okay and there was no problem with it. I didn't go ham, but I did claim like 2 or 3 little islands. And so this plays out in a pretty it's a little important. So Spain at the time, I'm talking to them and I'm like, you know how you're puppeted by Poppy Taco, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, what if you were to not be puppeted by him? Now this is basically an insane idea, because in order for a puppeted country to not be puppeted, either A, the country they're puppeted by, in this case Germany, has to either A, get defeated in a war, which is basically impossible, or B, has to be freed by the country. They have to say, you know what? I'm just not gonna have you annexed. There was a third option where you had to pay currency, in-game currency, that you weren't allowed to spawn in. But it was an insanely high amount, and at the time the currency was still being worked out. So some days you'd get high amounts, some days you get basically none. And so, as this is going on, I'm sitting here collecting currency in hopes that, hey, maybe I might be able to actually get something. I might get it going, but I try talking him into it, because me and this dude are pretty good friends. Not Taco, but me and Spain, Teddy. Yeah, me and Teddy are pretty good friends, and we're talking to each other. I'm sitting here. Wouldn't it be a crazy idea? So what I do is I'm talking to Taco. I tell him, hey, you know how you have that one puppeted country, Spain? He's like, yeah. I was like, by any chance could I take over them and puppet them instead? And so I'm expecting him to say no, obviously, and have to go through a whole what do you call it? A whole game, just trying to talk him into, how could I get this to happen? And he's like, why do you want Spain so much? I say, because they're a valuable asset. And he's like, how are they a valuable asset? I said, the land they have could prove very useful when starting war. Which, now, telling them these things is good and bad at the same time. Because if you tell them something great, okay, good about them, you gotta give them a good enough reason. But it can't be too good. So I gave him a reason that was too good. He was like, you know what? I didn't think about that. Now I really want to keep him. So I'm sitting here like, shit. So I get like 2 other countries. This is where Tony plays in. Tony is this other country. Which country it wasn't really important because I don't remember. But Tony's sitting there. He's doing his thing. I ask him, hey, Tony, me and you are good friends, right? And at the time, we weren't as good of friends, but we were still pretty buddy. But he was like, yeah. I was like, okay, so Spain? He was like, yeah. I was like, wouldn't it be a crazy idea if we were to free them from annexation? And he was like, I like where this is going. Does this mean that I get to we get to annex Quinn? I was like, no, but we do get to annex Taco. And well, we could try and annex Taco. Now, and at the time, he was kind of, okay, if you've been in the server long enough and you tried something like that, he wouldn't outright ban you, but he just straight up laugh in your face, like, yeah, no, that's not happening. But, so this is going on, and I'm trying to convince this other country or whatever to join. And I eventually decide on, hey, you know what? I'll give you some land or whatever if you join. Now, this country turns out to not be very important at all, because long story short, all they end up doing is just not showing up at all. But we got... Oh, no. I'm about to kill 2. Okay, never mind. But, so I got 2 people just sitting there. I got 2 other people, two other allies that I gotta fight against this one guy. Now, this other guy's also got some allies too. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, let's see some of his allies. One of them, being Goliath, was the 2nd largest country. So we got the 1st and the 2nd both in alliance together. And we got another friend, the Assassin's Creed guy, I forgot what I called him, but let's just call him something else. ACOG, yes, ACOG will do for now. So we got ACOG over there. He's goes anywhere where Goliath goes. He's like a really good friend. Like, he goes in any war that Goliath goes in, but he's not too terribly high up, but he is known to be a cheater. And so we've discovered this multiple times that he was cheating, and so we're already suspecting this. So we're like, oh, we're going up against the 2 largest countries and a cheater. So I tried talking to the 2nd largest country, like, okay, Quinn? He's like, yeah. Wouldn't it be a crazy idea if we were to, try and defeat him in a war? Now, I can't say annex, because then that's immediately just he's not gonna join, but it wouldn't be, it'd be pretty okay if we were just to say, we're just gonna go ahead and defeat him in a war, probably make him do something. I don't know.
Oh my god, how is still going on?
But so as this is going on,
Oh my god.
okay, so we're sitting here. And I'm trying to free Spain. I'm talking to the 2nd largest country, telling them that, he decides, you know what, I'm gonna join. But we eventually agree on, okay, fine, but your friend can't join, because then we'll immediately get counted as, okay, you don't win him automatically because this guy is known to be a cheater. And, okay, goodbye. But anyways, this guy's known to be a cheater, and this is all going down in a Minecraft server, mind you. So this guy's known to be a cheater. So if he's on any winning team, it's automatically not counted unless it's Taco's winning team, because Taco likes to win and he'll count it and all that. And people will get, a little mad that, that happens, but, no one gets really mad except for Goliath, but that's only if he's on the other team. So we eventually we'll talk, crap, what did I call him? The assassin Ezio. We eventually talk Ezio, who was the guy who followed. I think I called him Butter by accident, but anyways, not Butter. Ezio is over there, just he's talking. He really wants to be in wars because this was at the time where everybody was suspecting he was cheating, but nobody could really put their finger on it. And so everybody would make a joke, oh, Butter's on your, well, not Butter, Ezio's on your team, so it doesn't count. And so the whole war would have to restart again, because everybody took it seriously. Okay, so this is all going on and whatnot. And as this is going on, we eventually talk Ezio into not joining the war because of all this. Now, this turns out to be a good thing, because we got the second biggest country, which if anybody could take out Germany, it'd be him. But it's such a large gap between how advanced the second city is from the first city, in other words, how big it is, that it's still barely even possible with these four countries we got going on. Okay, and so we're planning on a very specific day. Now I don't get on, neither does Tony on this one day, and the only person that's on is Goliath. Now Goliath isn't about to fight Poppy or whatever, the Taco, the dude, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, isn't about to fight Taco alone with just one other guy. And so what's he gonna do? Well, he's obviously just gonna let it happen. Well, whatever happens, he's just gonna So Taco has no idea that this is going on at all, and so he decides, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I feel like annexing for whatever reason, Spain, and so he does it. And in doing so, me and Tony have no idea, but Goliath jumps on a party that we're in. We're playing some random game. What we were playing wasn't important to the story, but he just joins randomly and then is like, hey, you know that guy that you were supposed to be freeing from annexation? We're like, yeah. Oh, from puppeting? You were like, oh yeah, what about him? He got annexed and he left the server for good. So we're sitting there like, oh, okay. So all that plan went to the garbage. And so this is a terrible thing, because he's a really good friend of mine who's leaving the server, which in and of itself is bad, but also he's all Taco's doing is getting more land to attack us from. Now his master plan is to attack me. Okay, that's his huge master plan. And if he attacks me or whatever, and wins, he gets such a huge amount of islands. He can attack anyone from basically anywhere. Now this plays into my advantage too at the same time, because there's so many places I can attack from. So now he eventually decides, okay, I'm gonna fight you. Now David isn't about to help me out. No one's helping me out except for Tony. But Tony doesn't prove to be very useful because, needless to say, he's not exactly the best at the game. And so he's about the same age as I am. This happened like a year or two ago. So he would have been around 13, same age as me at the time. And so he's the same age as me, Uh, but he's not very good at the game. So all he's really serving is as a distraction. So I muted a taco or whatever to tell my friend Tony, hey, distract him for a minute and pretend like you're going for one of his flags and he'll attack you. And so that island I was talking about earlier, Doomsday Island. Well, yeah, I'm deciding. You know what? I'm already gonna lose. I know China's gone, so I might as well light the Doomsday device. Now, the Doomsday device isn't exactly a big deal. It's just kind of there as a joke. The joke is if I'm about to light the Doomsday device, you automatically get scared, even though it really basically does nothing. And so that's my last hope for anything to happen. I threaten him that I'm gonna light the Doomsday device, and so he backs off for a second. And to my surprise, it actually works. He says, "Okay, okay, okay," and so he's got a friend with him too, but he's going for China or whatever. As he's going for China, I'm over here next to Britain and Germany as Doomsday Island is. So I already know I've lost. All Poppy's serving for is distraction, which I didn't think that that the dude was already gonna be going or whatever and doing all that. But as I was saying, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm fighting this dude while trying to light the Doomsday device. I put it in a spot where people couldn't easily reach it, but at the same time, it wouldn't be impossible to get to. So I'm sitting here trying to get there, while, Tony doesn't serve as a distraction for very long at all. He gets immediately killed, and his distraction lasted about 15 seconds. But that 15 seconds was pretty much all the time I needed to actually get there. So now I'm about one hit, from anything. I could trip and die. I have such low health from this dude attacking me. So I managed to pull the switch and immediately die after. And so it shoots fire everywhere. Now I'm expecting this to not do much, but then it actually ends up lighting an entire country on fire. Whole chain reaction starts. So he turns off fire spreads, which is a huge deal. So people are complaining about fire spreads being turned off, which obviously it's gonna happen. But he said not until we get all the fire. Obviously it's impossible to get it all, but he just wanted to get the majority of the spots that are in the areas that actually matter. And, like country areas, places where it could easily spread, all that stuff. And so, he says we'll do it after the game. And so we do. We do it after we do it after we start after we end the battle. Now, I die, and one of my final flag is about to be destroyed, so I got 3 lives. I spawn back at at China, and this one flag is almost destroyed. So, I go and start attacking this dude, and he ends up winning because he was already setting up and preparing for me to attack him. And so, luckily he kills me before he destroys the flag. He destroys the flag, so that death does count as one of my 3 deaths too. And so all they gotta do is kill me 3 times, but I gotta stay in my country's area. Which, this turns out to actually be changed up a bit later on. All this stuff is still being worked out. But, so, I gotta be killed 3 times. But I have to stay in my city, into my area. So I got this little hidey hole. I'm thinking I'm gonna use that once I'm on my last life, because there's no sense in using it that early. And so I do. But here's what I didn't think about. The fact that Quinn is A, the one who's fighting me, and B, about to arrive in the time it takes him to kill me twice. So, I'm on my last life. I'm running to this little hidey hole I have. I run, and Quinn is on his way. Now, there's this little tiny hill, The dude's chasing me. Well, I spawn in, I run. The dude chases me, but he can't see me over the so I think I'm safe. I can enter the hidey hole, and he won't know. But on the on the side of the mountain or hill I was on, was Quinn coming in on a boat to China, and he sees me enter this hidey hole, and well, he later made a rule that you couldn't hide for your last life, but he just comes up and kills me. Now, the thing is, I would have fought, but my gear was completely outmatched from theirs. All I could really do was defend myself, and even then, it was a very difficult task. Now, I got this bow, and so what I do is I just aim it up, expecting somebody to eventually open that up, as you cannot end the war until it dies 3 times. Now, I'm pulling the bow back. It's not fully back yet, and then all of a sudden I see it open. So my first reaction is to shoot. Guess who I shoot? Tony. I end up shooting Tony and killing him, and all his items drop around. Now, Quinn is in the area. He's looking. He sees me head in the general direction of the hidey hole. So he sees just a bunch of random items and a hole that is opened. And you could probably put together what happened from there. I'm sitting there pulling my bow back, yelling, "I'm sorry" to Tony, while expecting him to come because of all the loot. He ends up coming, but he does this thing where he just jumped on me and crit me with a sword and one-tapped me. But, so, China is no longer existent. I gotta go with a whole new country and all this. So, in total, I get annexed around, like, 7 times in the server. A lot of times I come back as Poland. And I come back as Poland again, but that's pretty much the end of this podcast. I'll go ahead and, if you guys like this, I'll go ahead and continue going on with this. But it's getting a little late now. Where I am, it's currently 4:38 in the morning, so I'm just gonna go ahead and end it here, but I will continue.